So it is I, Tartar's Queen Dragoness, back with another video. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have actually heard about the whole shtick of Mr. Graham out there. But that's besides the point. What also is besides the point is the fact that I'm wearing my new top. Like it? Good. Because I want to try to wear it more often. Is this a precursor to something a little bit more, I don't know, adventurous? Like my last video going shopping? Probably. Who knows? Anyways, while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for this channel for other amazing transgender topics and maybe some interesting news. I post these videos once a week and on a Monday where everybody goes to work and not pays attention to a single thing that I have to say because you're just sitting in a cubicle whining about your boss with pointy hair. And you got a little midget bald annoying the hell out of you. But that's fine. So, in today's video, I just want to go ahead and talk about something that just popped into my head. This past Friday, as to the posting of this video, that I came up to the realization of the uprise of the rhetoric of the transgender community and the whole activism thing and the surge of the human rights for them. And this whole excuse me, I seem to be having a dry throat right now. Anyways, back on topic. And the revelation that I had is simply asked in this question: are you really a transgender person? Or are you manifesting your level of anxiety and depression into being a transgender person? I did a video earlier, a few days ago, and I'll leave the thumbnail right over here, that stated that my generation, the Millennials, were pretty much the pioneers of the whole transgender movement. But I also realized that the Millennials, my generation, I was born in 1984, which I should have escaped it, but I didn't, were also one of the most depressed, second to that of the current Gen Zers. So I was thinking to myself, is there a correlation between the two? As a person who has suffered through depression for so long, I do believe it was approximately 15 years. It's a time to where you feel mental anguish. You feel unwanted. You feel unloved, and self-hatred to yourself. And I knocked my microphone up. It is during that time that we isolate ourselves, commit criminal activities, and even go so far as to commit the ultimate price to relieve ourselves of our agony. This may be just a massive theory, but one that is actually supported to the assumption that people who are perceived as beautiful garner attention, and women as are actually perceived as physical characteristics are concerned to be pretty and beautiful, and that transgender women want to get that sort of attention so that they can make sure that they feel loved and that they feel wanted. However, the love that they seek is no different than an actual cis woman who does drugs and sells their body. There's some similarities to gender dysphoria. It's basically your dislike or your mental gender doesn't match with your physical one. And that does exist. But what I'm getting at is that, do you feel like a woman trapped in a man's body? I'm just asking you this question. Do you really feel that way? Did you have a bad breakup a few years ago and have not shaken the traumatizing experience? Are you involved with degenerate family? Are you alone in that apartment or house of yours and have been for quite some time? Do you think no one will ever love you? Are you stuck in front of that TV screen playing video games or watching The Hub alone? How about you, the parent of this so-called transgender person that you're living with? Do you pay attention to them? Are you a single working parent and don't see your child often? Do you know who his or her friends are and who is tormenting him or her, essentially bullying them? What about gaming activities? Do they communicate with friends on Discord or other live social media when they're playing games? Or are they solo gaming with totally random people? Do they hang around with people of the opposite gender more often than they do with their gender? How you answer these questions could determine if your child is actually part of the transgender community or extremely sad and have a low self-esteem. However, I wouldn't suggest going over to your kid and battering them with a bunch of questions like some sort of CIA agent, because that's going to end up leading them to not wanting to answer your questions because you're being an overprotective nut job. My suggestion to you is be like a stalker. Ask teachers how your kid is doing, how they're communicating with other people in their class. You know, do the whole sneaky thing, okay? Wearing a trench coat, a silly suave hat, and some sunglasses. But how about the older folk? My folk. How many body pillows of your anime waifus do you even own? Do you have a significant other? Are you spending a lot of money on Twitch thoughts? When you dress in the opposite gender and go clubbing, are you finding love or a quick fix? Do you club alone or with friends? Are you an alcoholic? Yes, I know this video is starting to sound a lot like 20 questions, and it's filled with a bunch of questions, but there is an important thing to these questions, and that is to pinpoint whether you are really depressed or are you really part of the transgender community. Because I don't think many psychologists even came up with this thing or had this idea, and if they did, why hasn't the public even known about it? That's my concern. If there's a correlation between depression, anxiety, which existed primarily starting with the millennials and is continuing on with the Gen Zers, why hasn't the public known about this information? Simply put, it's because it's very difficult to discern one thing from another because they're very similar. And you also have self-brainwashing. Not only that, I've spent hours and now days trying to find if there's any information or the correlation or even a remote chance of this question ever popping up. And it hasn't. And this video is the first. Now, that is not to say that because that there's no evidence out there that this does not exist, but has this question ever popped up? Probably not. Because of the way that the millennials were. Being the pioneers of both depression and the transgender community. I think it's safe to say that this theory might be a thing. And it's safe to assume, it's safe to ask this question, whether they are totally separate things or are in fact somehow closely related. And how do you discern the two? Because honestly, I'd love to know. Because the way the transgender community is being extremely toxic, especially amongst the activists, is getting ridiculous. Even murders are happening to these individuals, which are sending chills down the community's spine. And most of them are revolving around relationships, mind you. Did you know that? Even around the early 2000s, when a bunch of people somehow got the surgery, later regretted it, and tried to reverse it. Because probably they were unhappy about themselves. Who knows? I certainly don't know. And I would love, I would love to know if there's something there. But, anyways, what do you guys think? Am I overthinking this? And it is all just some sort of freaking Dale Gribble conspiracy theory in my head, or is there some sort of smidgen of truth to this? And more importantly, if there's actually a psychologist out there watching this, I would love to get your insight in this. And tell me I'm wrong. Please, for the love of God, please tell me I'm wrong. In any case, Requiescat in pace, and I hope to see you guys later.